Dear Faithful, with this video, we want to share an extraordinary story that has moved the hearts of thousands of people around the world. We are talking about Carlo Acutis, an extraordinary young Italian who was beatified on October 2020 in the majestic Basilica of St. Francesco d'Assisi in Italy. Carlo Acutis was born on May 3, 1991 in London, into a wealthy family from Turin. His parents, Andrea Acutis and Antonia Salzano, had just celebrated their first wedding anniversary and were in the UK for work. But Carlo's life was marked by an extraordinary event when he was just 4 years old. His maternal grandfather, who had just passed away, appeared to him in a dream, asking him to pray for him. This experience touched him deeply, and from there he began to become interested in the Catholic faith. The young Carlo developed a deep interest in religion, also encouraged by the answers of his Polish babysitter. At just 7 years old, he decided to receive his first communion after an adequate training course and a consultation with a prelate. His family organized a special ceremony at the convent of Sant'Ambrogio. From that moment, Carlo spent time in prayer before the tabernacle, maintained a close relationship with the Eucharist, and went to confession weekly. Carlo had many role models and spiritual guides in his life, including St. Francis of Assisi, Dominic Savio, Padre Pio, and Bernadette Suberus. He studied at the Jesuit high school Istituto Leone XIII in Milan. But his attention was not limited only to his spiritual life. He cared about his friends, especially during difficult times such as their parents' divorces, and invited them to his home to support them. He was also a champion of justice, defending disabled classmates from the taunts of bullies and helping the homeless and needy by giving them food and clothing. Despite his passion for football, animals, cinema, and video games, Carlo was in love with IT. He was a true genius at creating websites, programs, and applications, and used this skill to spread the word of God and promote devotion to the Eucharist. In fact, Carlo created a website dedicated to Eucharistic miracles around the world with real, serious, and in-depth documentation. The site is still present on the web and can be easily consulted. Carlo Acutis' life was characterized by simplicity, joy, and faith. Although he was a modern young man with a passion for technology, he never allowed himself to be distracted by the temptations of the world. He knew well that true happiness lies in God and in the Eucharist, which he called my highway to heaven. Carlo had a profound devotion to the Madonna, to whom he entrusted himself with love. Every day he recited the rosary and wore the sacred scapular. He was a generous, selfless, and charitable young man. He did not limit himself to performing physical works of mercy, but also dedicated himself to spiritual works of mercy. He was committed to spreading the faith among his friends, relatives, and even priests, using his example, his words, and the internet as a tool. He was not afraid to testify to his faith and love for Jesus. Carlo was also a humble, obedient, and respectful boy. Despite his extraordinary intelligence and preparation, he never boasted of his successes. He was always ready to listen to his parents, his teachers, and the authorities, respecting the rules and duties with humility. Carlo was a serene, optimistic, and confident young man. Despite the challenges he faced, such as his mother's illness or his grandparents' divorce, he never allowed anger or despondency to take over. He always saw the positive side of situations and placed a deep trust in divine providence. After his death, which occurred on October 12, 2006 in Monza, his body was subsequently transferred to Assisi, where he rests in the Church of Santa Maria Maggiore. On July 5, 2018, Pope Francis declared him venerable, recognizing his spiritual virtues. Subsequently, in 2019, the Pope himself approved the miracle attributed to his intercession. This is the inexplicable recovery of a Brazilian child suffering from a rare congenital pancreatic disease. The child, called Mateus Viana, was born in 2009 with a serious malformation of the pancreas, which caused serious digestive disorders and put his life in danger. Despite medical best efforts, doctors had been unable to find a solution to his condition, and his parents were desperate. Matthias's mother, together with other people, prayed intensely for the intercession of Carlo Acutis to intervene with God for the healing of her son. During a visit to a traveling exhibition on Carlo Acutis, his mother decided to bring with her a relic of Carlo, consisting of a lock of his hair, and placed it on Matthias's chest while he prayed. Incredibly, from that moment on, Matthias began to improve in a sudden and surprising way. His digestive disorders disappeared completely, and no scientific explanation could justify this recovery. This extraordinary event was considered a miracle attributed to the intercession of Carlo Acutis. News of this miraculous healing spread quickly, attracting the attention of the Vatican. After an in-depth medical and theological investigation, the miracle was recognized and approved by Pope Francis, paving the way for the beatification of Carlo Acutis. The beatification of Carlo Acutis has aroused extraordinary interest and admiration throughout the world, especially among young people. His exemplary life of faith, humility, and dedication to God inspired many to follow his example and seek holiness in modern life. Today, Carlo Acutis is considered a model of virtue for young people and a powerful intercessor before God. His story reminds us that holiness is not reserved for remote figures in time, but can be achieved by ordinary people like us in the context of daily life. The life of Carlo Acutis teaches us that holiness is not an abstract or unattainable concept, but something that can be concretely experienced in our everyday lives. Carlo was a normal young man, with common passions and interests, but he managed to integrate his faith into every aspect of his existence. For example, his passion for the internet and computing was not separate from his spirituality, but a means to spread the gospel and share his faith with others. Carlo shows us that even the most common daily activities can become an opportunity to live in a virtuous and sanctifying way. His dedication to supporting friends in difficulty, his compassion for the less fortunate, and his commitment to defending the weakest teach us that holiness consists in loving and serving others, putting into practice the evangelical values of compassion, solidarity, and justice. Every day in our everyday lives, we have the opportunity to make choices that bring us closer to holiness. We can show kindness to others, practice gratitude, forgive, be generous, and live with integrity. We can try to transform our passions and talents into tools for the common good. Let us remember that God calls us to a life of holiness, a life full of love, passion, humility, and joy. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the little bell. For us, it will be a big contribution to being able to continue spreading messages of faith and hope. Thank you with all my heart.